I first just wanted to welcome you to the Teams as a Platform webinar hosted by Netrix and in partnership with Microsoft. And I wanted to thank you for being here this morning. I recognize the investment of time that you are making to attend this session, and it's my hope, certainly, that it proves valuable to you in your evaluation of the Microsoft Teams platform and really how it can enable greater levels of collaboration, productivity, and really a more positive connection for your employees to their work. My name is Connor Shank, and I'm one of the partners here at Netrix. And for the past decade or so, I've been working in and around Microsoft technologies from a number of areas from both a security standpoint, as well as looking at how employees work and how providing a secure digital environment for your individuals to work in and work collaboratively with one another can have incredible cascading effects across many areas of the organization's information flow. My colleague Jim Bob Howard will actually be leading much of the discussion today, and I'm really excited for you to hear from him. He'll have a chance to introduce himself a little bit later on, but really grateful for him being here with you all today. The bulk of our discussion is around different ways that the Teams platform can enable that more productive and engaging employee population. And following the discussion, we'll have a few workshops and different things that we'd love to make you aware of that you can take advantage of. If there's anything in our presentation that you connect with, if there's anything that stands out to you and you'd like to explore further, we would love to engage with you in that. And then we'll have a time of Q&A at the end. So as we go along, please do type your questions into that chat box, and we will get to those at the end. A little bit of background about Netrix. We are an international IT consulting firm specializing in, amongst many other things, the Microsoft technologies. And for the past 30 years or so, we've been helping customers like you embrace technology to improve business process. We have many managed service components which include and require a 24/7 monitoring posture. And we've also worked, just being an international company, we've worked with clients whose regulatory compliance obligations, such as GDPR or other frameworks, require that international compliance expertise. So understanding the complex business that you guys are in has been our business for many, many years. And we are very proud to be trusted by Microsoft to lead initiatives with some of the top Fortune 500 companies in the world. So grateful that you are here with us. I'm not going to linger here too long. Jim Bob, as I mentioned, is one of the managers in our modern applications and data intelligence practice. And again, he'll be driving most of this. But we have a few other groups that are relevant to the Teams platform discussion that we'd love to just share with you. Specifically, the UC as well as the infrastructure and security practices kind of make up the other facets of this conversation, which makes scenarios like the ones that we're going to discuss with you today even possible. What I hope you take away from this webinar is that Teams is not a one-size-fits-all platform. The needs of your sales organization may vary significantly. In fact, they do vary significantly from your manufacturing or R&D, from finance, from HR, from marketing, the C-suite, etc. Looking at Teams as an application which does chats and meetings only, it cuts the legs right out from under this really amazing tool. And so we're going to look at some of the different ways that Teams is extensible and customizable to different business orgs and different use cases within your organization. And looking at all of the components that fuel collaboration today, we see a number of engagement modes, which are all consolidated in kind of this one platform. This keeps workers in their state of flow longer. It brings insightful information closer to them, allowing them to decrease time to market, decrease cost of goods sold, increase profitability, increase employee loyalty, etc. Teams really does represent that platform that you need to tap into many of those benefits. And lastly, before I turn it over to Jim Bob, Netrix has walked countless customers through these types of discussions, and we look forward to helping you plan and execute your own resource empowerment strategy based on Microsoft Teams. There are a lot of components to consider, and there may be some things that we, being in this industry and have worked with other clients before, can help you consider you may not already be aware of, and we can help validate some of the things that you may already be planning. So folks, thanks again for being here. As a reminder, please do post any questions in the chat as we go along, and we will address those at the end. And now I'll turn it over to Jim Bob to start the discussion.
Thanks, Connor. I appreciate the intro there. Hi, everyone. My name is Jim Bob Howard. I'm the manager for workplace collaboration here at Netrix. My team deals with everything that has to do with collaboration, from SharePoint to Teams to Yammer to OneDrive, and then also increasingly the Power Platform and how that can be used to leverage all of those tools moving forward. So the modern workplace that we all find ourselves in today is exploding with data. If you think about the fact that 4 times as many devices exist as users, we're inundated with data. By the end of the year, over 72% of global workforce, that's global workforce, will be working remotely at least a portion of the time, and many of them full-time. And just under half of workers use social tools at work to collaborate with colleagues inside and outside their organization. But information overload can bog down collaboration. The Harvard Business Review reported that 80% of company time now involves collaborating. But 59% of managers report missing important communication due to information overload. And a Gartner research report estimated that 20% of the average knowledge worker's day is spent just tracking down information, just searching for information. 20% of the day is taken up with that. So when we start to look at Teams, most of us are already kind of using Teams, especially because in this COVID world, everyone went remote. And so a lot of things that happened kind of in the early phases of working with Teams, planning out your Team's adoption, that was streamlined and really fast-tracked for most people. And really to be able to give us the chat and meeting capabilities that are built in directly into Teams. But what I want to talk about today is this little circle over here on the right, and it really is an iterative process like this, running a project within Teams, streamlining a process, automating repeated workflows, and then extending to lines of business is where we want to take things. So in the big scheme of things, we all understand about communicating through chat and collaborating with teams. So today we want to talk about the customizing and extending portion of it, because this platform is one that is just rife with capabilities. Extensions that are available, whether they're written by Microsoft, third-party vendors, or even your own developers, can take advantage of the various platform capabilities. So just some of those and that are listed over here on the left. Notifications within Teams drive action and timely responses if they're used sparingly. Too many notifications ends up being information overload again, and so we don't recommend using them too much. Tabs will provide team-focused context for shared activity, so you pull it directly into the team and have that conversation there around specific pieces of data, and we'll see some examples of that. Rich cards enable smart sharing from chats and channels. What that means is that it gets pulled in a way, in a format that allows the user to be able to interact with that information much better than they could in just a simple chat or just simple text. Bots can drive focused queries in the conversation flow. I can ask a bot a question and it can respond to me right back in the chat. Personal apps provide a control center overview. The idea there is when you have a personal app, I get the ability with my own personal app to see across multiple domains. One great example, if anyone's been using Planner, there is a Planner personal app that shows me all of the tasks that I've been assigned across all of the plans that I may be a part of that are part of different teams. The Graph API in the background aligns team channel lifecycle with overall app flow, and then Power Apps and SharePoint Framework can both be used to bridge existing solutions. These extensions, the first part of customizing and extending Teams is bringing together all the Microsoft Office applications you know and love, allowing you to reduce context switching and create conversations around content. The second part of this infusion of tools is where we bring together all the other apps and services you need every day to get your job done, whether or not Microsoft built them. The Teams App Store currently has over 250 partner applications and integrations available today, and it's just growing. So just to clarify the point, these first two layers here are the ready-to-use applications available for you as soon as you download Teams. If your IT admins, make them available to you. Finally, this is where things begin to get interesting. Microsoft Teams also gives you the ability to extend your experience to leverage the apps and services that your organization has built for you, the tools you need to leverage every day as an employee to get work done and as part of your role. And we call these line of business applications. Now, when you look at this picture, it's exciting. Imagine a day where all of your applications not only show up in one single UI, but also work better together, allowing you to stay in the flow of your work. And that day is here, and it's time to deliver your people the modern workplace they deserve and make their apps work for them. So 3 things that we want to take a look at today for helping boost team productivity with collaboration tools. First is the ready-to-use apps, which we talked about just a moment ago. We're also going to talk about empowering end users to create their own apps and then amplifying your solutions using some of those custom integrations. So the ready-to-use apps, here's just a sample. All of these logos you're going to recognize. These logos have already built tools, or Microsoft has helped build tools to connect with each of these systems. And like I said, there are over 250 external applications now available to allow you to trigger specific things that happen in Teams, to be able to take that information that is happening within those other systems and be able to pull it in and collaborate on it directly within the context of your team. Empowering end users to create their own apps. Now every developer can build an app like a pro. We used to have to go to pro developers or IT developers to be able to build things out, but now with citizen developers, and think of a citizen developer as someone who is in the business, who understands the process, and now has tools at their fingertips to allow them to enhance what they've done, automate their good decisions, to go off and make other good decisions. And so the Power Platform gives them access to be able to do that. The Power Apps product itself makes it really easy to build apps with low code and no code. Power BI gives you the visualization that you need to understand the data that you're working with. So it's no longer just data, it's actually information, because I can see what that information means. And then Power Automate allows us to seamlessly scale processes and publish apps using an intelligent automation service that goes from taking those good decisions that we've already made and then making them happen again. We can build processes that allow us to step through those specific pieces, and or when something happens in the cloud, I can have something else happen, or someone be notified, or move the process a little further along so I don't miss out on some of the things that are happening in my world. We use Power Platforms to work smarter in teams. We can either create custom apps without code, we can automate some time-consuming tasks, integrate existing data that's happening in other systems and other lines of business, and then share apps with everyone on our team. Streamlining the onboarding process for new hires was something that was really important to Javi. Javi is a global logistics organization working with some of the world's largest brands, with nearly 10,000 employees across the globe, many of whom are freelancers with short-term contracts. Javi and their marketing group, the Marketing Store, needed a better way to manage these contracts and move from relying on error-prone manual entries to a more modern automated process. So Javi turned to Teams and Power Apps and built a custom app to automate the entire registration process. The app allows new hires to complete paperwork online and then automatically uploads it to Javi's backend HR system. From there, follow-on actions are automatically assigned to the other departments like payroll and IT, and it's all coordinated through Teams. So not only has this slashed Javi's document processing times, it's helped ensure that every new employee has what they need on their first day of work, from access badges to software licenses to compensation. And what used to take 4 to 5 hours, or in cases of mistakes, a week or two to complete, is now done in just under 40 minutes. The last part is amplifying your solution with custom integrations, and you can tailor the workspaces for collaboration, leveraging the built-in capabilities, then adding custom tools and apps, and then layering on processes and workflows. So in this animation, this example, our sales team is getting ready to go on site with a potential customer. Together in teams, they review the presentation ahead of time. And you can see that there's a conversation that's being started here, along with a document that's being attached and then shared with the rest of the team. Opening that up directly in Teams allows the two users that are in the conversation to be able to have a conversation over on the right-hand side while still looking at the PowerPoint presentation. After a little bit of conversation, they decide that they want to update that deck before they pass it on. So once on site with the prospect, the salesperson ultimately submits a request. And since they're doing this in real time at a construction site, our salesperson is using a tablet. His or her organization created their own custom field survey app that helps them capture the right information. This is an example of a simply built, like a low code, no code power app, which is built directly into Teams. And so you can see that it allowed them to choose the specific pieces that they needed and then submit that estimate right there from within Teams. Now, most sales organizations necessitate a CRM tool for lead generation and nurture. So from Teams, you can connect to tools like Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics, so your team can easily track, share, and follow up on opportunities. The sales team also needs to update their bid document and verify material prices, and so there's a list that's always up to date there from SharePoint. And they may also want to look at a embedded Power BI dashboard to check their progress against their sales. And then start a conversation with the sales manager to request a volume discount if a volume discount can be offered. So submitting bids for approval used to be a time-consuming, complicated process, especially when you didn't work in the same office space or location as your manager. Now our salesperson can simply upload their completed bid to a folder, and this act kicks off a flow. And then when we switch over to the manager's view, we can see that the manager has a notification that a bid needs their approval. They can access the file that was uploaded directly, and they're taken to the approval tool. So this whole process is thoroughly documented. And now that the bid is approved, we can finish up the proposal. Since this is something that we've done before, I can quickly search for a prior version instead of starting my Word document over from scratch. And finally, we fast forward to closing the deal with our customer. We already presented the proposal to them, and now we just want to make a phone call directly to their cell using PSTN calling to get the verbal yes. So I bring the customer into a group call by adding their number right here. And as they are now part of a group conversation with everyone, as they come in, I get that verbal yes. And then it's also important to let the team know what's happened so we can get started on the work. And of course, celebrate these wins together. And you can see that the interface between the mobile app and the desktop app is very similar. It's very seamless, and so it's real easy to move for users to go from one to the other, and they can use it in the field as well. So as you're thinking about other ideas, here are some scenarios to consider. You can add a custom tab to a Teams channel to bring in data from a system external to Teams. We saw that with the demo when we looked at Dynamic CRM, the SharePoint pricing list, and the Power BI dashboard from within Teams, which are not limited to Microsoft created tabs. The custom tab allows users to align and collaborate on the work that needs to get done and helps them engage in a conversation within the context of this application. Custom messaging extensions allow users to bring in information from outside the Teams into a Teams channel conversation. For example, using a messaging extension to find and share recently viewed reports, add comments, mention a colleague, and then share with the team. We saw this at the beginning of the demo with the sales team was collaborating on the pitch deck before meeting with the client. You can also build an app that functions inside Teams. We saw this with the bid submission app in the demo. Another example would be for a corporate communication team. The app could allow your corporate communication team to review trending tweets, submit new posts for PR approval, and allow PR to approve for publication, all directly from Teams. Or consider a personal app within Teams that's only applicable to a particular user. The Planner personal app, for example, as I mentioned before, allows a user to see all tasks assigned to them, even though they're spread across multiple planners on multiple teams. So thank you for participating in all of that and listening. Connor also has some next steps that he'd like to share with you if any of these things resonated with you, if you'd like some more information.
Thanks, Jim Bob. Just wanted to quickly share with you a couple of workshops that have been put together to help customers like you who are evaluating how teams might be able to transform the way that you do some of these things, right? And so if the need for your organization is more around the UC practice, there's a couple of workshops that are focused on meetings as well as calling. And then there's a workshop that is more geared toward the apps and solutions side, which is much of what Jim Bob discussed today, where we can work through pulling in things like the Power Platform. We can pull in some of the developed applications already, whether they be Microsoft hosted or third-party hosted, and we can even have some discussion with you around what it would look like to bring in one of your native apps into the Teams experience as well. So, we definitely do want to make you aware of those and would love to have a conversation with you if one of those is interesting, or if anything stood out to you that you want to explore further. So now I think we'll take a few questions if we could. All right. So we got a question, Jim Bob. I'm going to send this one your way. What are some examples of what a bot could do? Can you talk through some use cases there?
Yeah, absolutely. So one really good example of a bot usage that we've seen is an FAQ. So we've actually developed an FAQ bot for use within Netrix to be able to search across various questions that an employee may have about things going on at Netrix. So if I need to look up and say, when's the next holiday? I can ask the bot with the next holiday that comes up without having to go out to the internet, go find the holiday, calendar, and then figure out what today is. And of course, I know what today is, but I can ask the bot to say, hey, what's the next holiday that's coming up? Another example would be to be able to use the bot, and within bots, you can also have very specific questions that can be asked, and you can kind of present those as the question that you just click on a button to ask a specific question. And sometimes that feels a little bit canned, but it also does give you the ability to say, here are the questions that I want to ask, and I want to ask them about a specific topic. And so if I wanted to create an integration within a bot to be able to say, I want to go look at my CRM, or I want to look at my ERP for something, and I have a question about a specific project. If I want to see what's the start date of this project, or when was the last time a SAL was signed, I could create the bot to go and query and grab that information without ever having to jump over to my ERP system or my CRM and then have to dig through and find the specific stuff. I can set the bot up to say, listen, I'm looking for Acme Company, this type of project that started on this date. Tell me what the total thing is for. So the idea there is that within the bot, it can communicate with other systems, bring back that data directly into the chat, and then I can continue that conversation within that team realm.
Something else that came to mind was different applications that are all coming into a team sometimes don't have native connectivity or native integrations. And so, writing a bot that, you have a certain notification or something come into a team, you can have different, programmed actions that say, would you like us to update this in the next, the next application, the next system, right? So you can kind of automate some of those things using Power Automate and Power Apps to tie together some of the disparate systems.
Yes.
The things that are tedious, the things that are repeatable, right? A lot of those things can be automated with a bot and then just kicked off. So that's great. Another one, and this is more of a use case driven question, but can you set up a flow or Power Automate to let a customer know or let someone know like when an invoice has gone out, or perhaps like when it's get paid, maybe like every stage of the invoice, so it's been generated, it's been sent, it's been paid, that type of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. If you think of the automation pieces that we're looking at here, it's an elaborate if this then that, right? And so if we're thinking that when something happens, that's a trigger. When something happens, we want something else to happen, that's an action. And so within the concept of Power Automate, that is the entire concept. Something triggers something else to happen. And so you could easily, depending on your system, and obviously, you have to have an API in process or a connector that's already been written, but many of those things can be done. When something happens, that an invoice has gone out or an invoice has been paid, that's going to be a field that's going to be updated somewhere within your CRM or within your ERP, and as it does that, I can be monitoring that. I can create a flow that says, hey, when this gets updated, let me know, right? And it could be a different pieces of information. It could be a specific date has been updated. It can be a specific dollar amount. It can be a choice field that this has happened. It could be a checkbox that says, hey, this happened, and so I want something else to be notified. So yes, all of those things, and it can be fairly robust too. All of that could be set up definitely with a flow to be able to give you that information and pull it, as we're talking about in Teams, pull it right into the context of the specific team. So one example that we use here at Netrix is that we create a separate team for each of our clients, and then each channel is a project. And so I would want to tie that type of bot to the project itself and or the client. There might be a couple of different scenarios where it would make sense to pull it either into the general channel for the client, or I'd pull it directly into the channel for that specific project as well.
Sure. I might need to interpret this in a little bit, but what is the best or most effective way to organize team via like a team versus team or channel, that type of thing? When to create channel, I think is what the question is. And like, what is the processes, either automated or manual, around how we should think through that?
So there are a lot of different ways you can think about team channels, teams and team channels. So the first thing that you have to think about is who has access to it. If it's the same pieces of information and the same people that have access to numerous things, sometimes it makes sense to have one team with multiple channels, where you have the channels be conversations. So it's overarching topic. In our example of being a client, the individual conversations or the channels have to do with those specific projects. Now, if you're let's say you're in a legal situation where you have a client, but you have separate legal matters that each one is going to be its own channel. Sometimes that doesn't work so much in a legal situation because you don't necessarily always have the same people on each of your matters for a specific client. And so a couple of things you can do there. You can either say, I'm going to set each team is going to be a matter, so all the permissions are managed at the team, or I have an overarching larger group that is part of the team, and then the channel can be a private channel that's a subset of those. Now, there's some things that you lose out with private channels, and that make that sometimes not the best option. And there's a little bit of overhead to go with that too. But so it really comes down to who has access to what and what type of conversations that you want to have on a regular basis. When it comes to automating that process, we do recommend putting together something like a bot that will ask a series of questions. What type of team do I need to set up? Is it for a project? Is it for a marketing campaign? Is it for something else? So that it creates the channels that I need for that specific campaign. And we can work through a number of those questions too.
Awesome. What is the best way to handle knowledge management? So basically, so that users don't have to like open a file and maybe like scroll through everything. Is there a way of creating maybe like a center of excellence or something that allows them to find information embedded in content a little bit easier.
Yeah,
and then I guess the follow-up conversation, we've got two questions that kind of interrelated, so I'm going to combine the two of them.
Okay.
So that's the first half. The second half is file formats type thing. Can you have bots or some of these automated processes key in off of like PDF templates and things like that, or do they have to be a certain Microsoft format?
Yeah, no, so the search engine does a really good job. I'll kind of address that first. Search engines within Office 365 do a really good job of even digging into PDF formats so that you can get the content out of there. I would say, as far as the best way to handle knowledge management so that you don't have to go and dig into a specific file or go look up a specific thing, is that you do create a bot. Right, a bot is a great example of that. Let me ask the question and let it go grab the piece of information out of that. And again, ours is an example of that. We have our FAQ bot can go and directly look at it. Looks at our handbook, and so if I want to look up, travel policy, I can say, hey, what's the travel policy for X, and it will go and pull the PDF, and it'll even bring up a couple of different sections that says here are the pieces that I need. So I think a bot is a fantastic use case for that.
All right, perfect. Well, folks, just in closing, wanted to thank you for spending some time with us. We hope that this was a good use of your time. We hope that you learned something, and we would love to be in touch with you. So please do reach out if there is follow-up conversations that you'd like to have. We'd be more than happy to help brainstorm your ideas and help maybe sort through some of the complexities that you might be faced with your unique team's deployment. So thanks again, and we really appreciate the time. Have a wonderful day.